Hey everybody, what is up? Welcome back to Funnel Trade. We're going to do our monthly market walk. Yes, I owed it to you on the 7th, and today's the 10th. I had some stuff going on and made some other videos instead. So, as usual, we are going to start over on TCG Player with set booster boxes. And I'm going to open up a couple of these whose prices immediately kind of pique my interest. And I'm just going to talk at you for about an hour about what we find in the market, what prices look like, what's been going on, and just my unscripted thoughts as we get there. So, call time set box is $130, man. It's amazing how this has come up, but some other set boxes from this era just haven't. It's interesting to see how these have started to kind of diverge from each other a little bit after several years of all of these being in a pretty bad spot. So $130 over here. And what do we have next? Yeah, Zendikar Rising. This is one that always surprises me of how long it's taken to start coming up. It truly must have been printed to oblivion to such a terrible degree. And actually, I can give you another data point on that. One of the eBay sellers that I cover on my monthly market walks, we'll go look at him and we'll see that this is probably the oldest product he has available. It's one of the distributors running a retail channel through eBay. And so for them to still have Zendikar Rising when this was golly, was it late 2020? It's so long ago. Everything starts to blur together going back that far. $115 is actually really good compared to all of the years that this spent at 90 bucks. In fact, can we go back 1 year and still see it at $94 a year ago, and then it dipped back down there about 7 months ago? And Crimson Vow. Now, I wanted to bring this one up because the set boxes of this have always been kind of weird in the market. It's like they just never got printed enough. They were always considerably more expensive than the draft boxes of Crimson Vow, despite how unpopular this set was. It's like they did one print run of them and it just kind of wasn't enough, but the prices stayed elevated anyway, even though the set wasn't very popular. And then now that we're getting later in life, we're seeing like funnier and funnier comparisons and prices. And there was one I wanted to make. You can go and look at Midnight Hunt here on the set boxes, and they're showing $100. And what did we have in between? We'll come back to Modern Horizons too. But Midnight Hunt, yeah, $100 once you actually drill down in here. And Crimson Vow at 121, even though these were consecutive standard sets at the end of 2021 in an absolutely horrible era of value and oversized print runs. And just, this was an era when WotC was just stepping on its own dick as hard as it could every day, seeing if it could stomp it harder than it did the day before. And to see that one of these boxes is now outpacing the other by 20%. Now, Modern Horizons 2, again, the thing that surprises me about this price is the enemy fetch lands have come up so much and they're only in the rare slot. And so, you can get several of them in every box. They've come up in price quite a bit since this went out of print finally. And the sealed boxes have not tracked well to the price appreciation of the fetch lands. Now, I know Modern Horizons 3 kind of eclipsed even the power of Ragavan and Modern Horizons 2. And so it is a wild situation where they creep the meta so hard that Modern Horizons 2 is almost less loved than it should be, when in its own day it was known for having creeped the modern meta way too hard on its own. So I've been a little surprised that these haven't come up more. But again, the balance is, well, Modern Horizons 3 is just kind of sucking all the money out of the room that would otherwise go to the Modern Horizons 2 boxes. We'll take a look at a couple of these other ones. There's not a lot in this set box era. It was so short, and some of it is still standard legal, and it's, not exactly interesting to take looks at things that are still potentially going to be reprinted. Now, did I just miss the AFR boxes? Has it pushed to page 3? God, I wish TCG Player would fix it so we could just search for these things in a reasonable way. Streets of New Capenna 110. That seems very, very reasonable, seeing that it's rotated out of standard. It was an incredibly ho-hum, unloved set, and it just came out in a terrible era. 110 seems absolutely reasonable. Kamigawa 130. Now this had jumped up. It had this real weird spike upwards. Yeah. Spiked up to a market price of 149 and then came crashing down. And I wonder if this was in September as it rotated. Maybe the supply was tightening and then it rotated and everybody said, yep, it's time to dump. And they just got rid of it because the demand for it was going to fall off a cliff after it rotated out of standard. And yeah, there's a pretty deep market of it. Strixhaven 115. Again, that seems kind of reasonable. You know, yeah, you have a very, very small chance of good hits from the Mystical Archives. And I can never remember, did the set booster boxes have the Japanese ones very, very rarely, or was it only I'm pretty sure it was only the collector boxes could get the Japanese version Mystical Archives. And then you could buy the Japanese language set boxes, and obviously you would get Japanese Mystical Archives in them. So yeah, the most desired Mystical Archive cards don't even come in the set box. 115, again, that just like Streets of New Capenna, that's the kind of thing. Seems like a very, very reasonable price given the entire history of the product. Moving over to draft boxes, as I always remind people, before the set booster box era started, these were known as simply booster boxes. So the things that come through on this search for draft booster boxes are only the draft boxes of the set box era. Open up a couple of these. You know, I wonder, do we have any idea when Lord of the Rings is supposed to be out of print? I'm wondering if have any heads up on that. Yeah, there's a lot of good stuff to look at here. Okay, I opened quite a few of them. Double Masters 2022, man. 2.5 years old, getting close to 3 years old, $285. Of course, let's see, the texture foil cards only came in the collector packs. Was this the one that had Mana Drain? And I'm trying to think what the big hits from this set were. It's been long enough that I can't quite remember. Let's see, it would not have been Mana Drain, because Mana Drain is only legal in Commander. So no, it wouldn't have been that. Maybe I'm totally wrong there. Market depth gets it up to 300 after not too many more boxes. I bet the sell-through rate, oh, that's higher than I would have guessed. 1 and 2/3 boxes per day. It's actually pretty good. You know, you might see that move up to $400 by the end of the year. It wouldn't totally surprise me. Lord of the Rings draft 152. I think it's time that if you really want to have a good position in this, it's pretty safe to buy it now. You know, this is getting on to close to a 2-year-old product, and in a way, some of the meta has moved past some of the cards, and so if you thought this was a good thing to put in the closet for the long term, it's not bad at this point to go for it. And 152, let's see how that compares out to a year ago. A year ago, 149, so yeah. Strixhaven 110 for the draft box. You know, that draft experience premium just is not coming through. Yeah. Again, printed to oblivion in its own time. And initially, when it first released, the Mystical Archives were a giant mess. And I remember Rudy made a funny video where he basically said, look, the Game Piece Army begged for all the special cards to be included in every pack, and now they got it with Mystical Archives, and the vast majority of the Mystical Archives were only worth pennies when the set came out. You know, it takes time to recover from that, and some of them will never recover, the ones in the uncommon slot. Of course, some of the rares and a lot of the mythics will and have recovered nicely. Infinity Draft boxes, $96. What are we looking like from a year ago? All the way down at 81. So yeah, again, I think you have to get into the collector boxes of these to get the full art Galaxy Foil lands that the people really, really covet. Commander Masters draft boxes, $294. This is a product that I've just never really had a good handle on what the value of it is. You know, it came out at such an awful price point. This really was, well, arguably this and Magic 30 were the two litmus tests for just how much could WotC squeeze out of the players. And Thankfully, Magic 30 just was utterly rejected by the market. And Commander Masters, while being a good product with good cards in it, it was just too expensive. And so card stores took a giant bath on this when it came out. It was a real mess for stores. A year ago, 264 and 294 today. Yeah, I'd feel pretty good buying this today, knowing it's only gone up $30 in the last year. It's probably burned off a lot of the remaining inventory in that time. What's our sell-through rate look like? A half a box a day. And Baldur's Gate Draft. You know, I opened 200 boxes of this, and every single case that I got of it said it was printed in March of 2023 or 2022, whichever year it came out in. Yeah, it was 22. Every single case said it was printed in March of 22. I bet they only did one printing of this ever, and they're still burning it down, and it's still only $106, despite the fact that it's full of commander cards that people want, and it's still the only place to get the Ancient Dragon cycle. A year ago, $93, today 106. That's just a function of way too many boxes in the market. 3 a day being sold right now, and still the price suffers this much. AFR, $119. I really like this product, but I like Dungeons and Dragons also. And a year ago, $90. Moving 1 box a day. Yeah, still going to be a while. Just going to take a while to pick up. And, you know, the sad fact that was that from the very beginning of the set box era, set boxes were just way richer and a way better value than draft boxes. And over the course of the set box era, that difference just got more and more dramatic. WotC just piled more and more and more value into the set boxes, and they were literally just trying to shove you in the direction of buying set boxes and not draft, because they wanted to get rid of draft boxes. They wanted to sell you less cardboard at a higher price with lower shipping costs, lower logistics, all of that in the set boxes. And so they just kept making them more and more rich. So it's not entirely surprising that some of these 21 era, especially standard draft boxes, are still doing this poorly. What else do we have? Let's try page 2. Again, this draft era would have been just as large as the set era, with the exception of a couple of things. Ravnica Remastered should have been around here somewhere. Ooh, double feature. You know I love me some double feature. We'll take Dominaria, Zendikar, MH2. Yeah, there's a lot of stuff here I like. We'll skip all these standard expansions. All right, is this going to be Time Spiral? Yep. Time Spiral, $295. Nice. Finally getting some upwards movement on this. I know I was selling this to patrons for a long time, I think at $220 or $230. Look at that big spike. Golly. Just at the end of December, it was $215, and now the market price has moved to $256. And the cheapest box is $295. That tells you the market has run out. We have officially tightened the supply, and let's see how many, 70 boxes listed right now, and it's moving 1 a day. Yeah, pretty nice. I don't actually think I have much of this left. I have some in my own personal long-term closet, but somebody came through in my patron program, I want to say 2 months ago, and bought everything I still had allocated to my patrons at about $230. So $180 for double feature. Patrons, I can have another double feature sale if y'all are really interested. I've got some more of it. $170. How much of this is moving? A half a box a day. Not very surprising, considering that Innistrad Remastered just came out and would have reprinted the best cards out of here. You know, there was always a really big foil price modifier on this set because of the distribution of the foils. There was 1 foil per booster pack, but the size of the set was twice as large as normal because they took Midnight Hunt and Crimson Vow and crammed them into a single set. So there were twice as many possible cards, but you know, you were still getting 1 foil per pack. So getting a particular silver screen foil out of these packs was twice as hard as a regular standard box. Also, the boxes were smaller. I don't really recall if the prices were different. Maybe I do. Maybe my recollection is that this was a oh, what do they call it? A whatever WotC network exclusive. I forget what the name of that is. And so they only sold it direct to the special card stores, and it had a ridiculous price. But it's been too many years to exactly remember all of those details. Dominaria Remastered, you know, I love me some of this. 129, and it's basically been at this price since December. That's not too bad. And a year ago, 103. So yeah, moved up 30% in the last 12 months, going through 2 boxes a day. And if we look out here, yeah, maybe we'll get to 140 in a month or so. You know, I wouldn't expect really, really big movements right now. It's interesting that the overall market seems to be taking a little bit of a breather. I don't know if I quite think that we're going to just already enter into a bear market. I kind of doubt it. I think we've just gotten out over our skis a little bit, especially with respect to the Pokemon market, and that maybe that sucked a lot of money out of Magic for now. So I think things are going to consolidate a little bit. And when I eventually get over to Pokemon here in a little bit, I will show you that some Pokemon products are taking a little breather after just having huge run-ups in the last 1 to 2 months. Zendikar Rising Draft, $100. Again, Expedition Box Topper is really nice, but man, just truly printed to oblivion. Most of the time I laugh at people when they use that term because frankly, if it's a recent product, it's really hard for us to know. Is it printed to oblivion? Has the distribution been mismanaged? Is the product not that popular? Is the power level not appropriate? You know, there's way too many things on current products, but when you can get 4 years out from a product's release like this, and you still see 151 boxes listed, and it's moving one a day, then yeah, $100 is a reasonable price for how much is still out here. Modern Horizons 2, pretty much the same thing I would say about the set boxes. It would be interesting to go and do the math and see which is the better value based on the rare slots to get those enemy fetch lands, because the set boxes had, I believe, even on Modern Horizons, it had about 15% more rares and mythics than a draft box did. Even though there were fewer overall cards, again, WotC was trying to push you to buy the set boxes instead of drafts, so they put more rares and mythics in them. So that was kind of the rule of thumb during that era that I used of whether the set or the draft boxes at any particular moment for one expansion were a better value. It was, are the set boxes no more than 15% more expensive than the draft boxes? I might have to go back and look specifically. I remember there was something in this era that was an outlier to that because the box engineering was way different and the set boxes were a much, much better value. Now, there was Baldur's Gate, which was the opposite, where the set boxes were an awful value, and they still are. They had way too many of the legendaries in them that just really, there were too many printed, and so most of them went down to a couple of pennies like you would expect. 155 on original Commander Legends. This was doing good, and then of course we got Jeweled Lotus banned, and that would have been probably this peak back here where it hit 155 and then it came down. So, you know, it lost some time over that. Eventually, yes, Jeweled Lotus will be unbanned. You want my sweet, sweet single card specking tip is go start buying Jeweled Lotus, and what was the other one? It wasn't Mana Vault. Was it Mana Crypt? Yeah, Mana Crypt, not Mana Vault. Everybody then spiked up the price of Mana Vault to replace Mana Crypt in their Commander decks. But I actually looked at those two cards recently, Mana Crypt and Jeweled Lotus, and both of them had fallen something like 70 to 80% since they got banned from Commander. And come on, we all know they're eventually coming back. That's way too much reprint equity for WotC to leave on the table. Anything else? This was already page 2. So we'll move on. Play booster boxes. Yes, the modern era. So why don't we pick up where we started. Murders, Outlaws, then came MH3. Was it Bloombro next, then Duskmorn? I already forget. Foundations. Innistrad, Aether Drift. We'll just look at all of them because there's only about, what's that, 7? Something we missed already was Ravnica Remastered Draft. I need to go back and look at that. 125, still bad price for stores selling it on here, but it's better than that. What? Yeah. Oof. 82 market price. My goodness, I never realized the market price got that low. That is unbelievable. I remember buying about a dozen of these at $90 and selling the singles out of them. There was a short period where that was profitable. But wow, $82. That is a true rejection. The set was poorly received, the flavor was wrong, and this was the first play box ever where everybody was going to have to adjust to how these were engineered. Outlaws next, 140. That's actually a good price for stores. Pretty decent. And Modern Horizons 3 play boxes. I recall these needed to be about $240 to break even. So with the shipping charge, it gets there. $240, $245, $244. It's pretty good. And Bloomborough, 133 is that? 134? It's a pretty decent price. Let me go ahead and do Ravnica Remastered Draft. While I'm thinking about it real quick, we'll just jump in this. 180. 180, and what's it done? It's a little over a year now. 131. All right. Well, that's really nice. It's come up nicely. I hope I bought a bunch of boxes of that. I don't quite recall. I know I bought at least 2 or 3. Boy, I hope it's more than that. That's come up really nicely. Okay, back to the play boxes. Duskmourn 143, that's a really good price. The reality of distribution costs for these 36 booster play boxes is this is about the price they need to be on TCG Player if you want healthy functioning card stores in the future. Foundations 130, what's that? 5 more, 138, 139. Again, that's about the right price if you want stores to exist and be healthy. Innistrad Remastered 163. And that's kind of deceptive because that's pre-release period. And so the giant spike in volume there, that blue bar going up to the top, that would have been release week when everybody piled in to buy. And the price kind of jumped up a little bit and then came back down. TCG expansion life cycle stuff on display right there. And Aetherdrift, now that we're running around like chickens with our heads cut off at WotC, and we're going down to 30 booster pack play boxes because they can never figure out what they want to do. They can't just acknowledge, yeah, inflation's kind of been a thing, and, it seems like the market was adjusting to $140 for these boxes. Now they're going to cut out 1/6 of the boosters. Will we see the boxes reduce by 1/6 of the price? I doubt it. So it's probably actually still getting more expensive, but now we get a smaller box, which makes us feel bad. Oy. It's not how I would run things. 120, so this will be in full release in another 4 days, so that's upcoming Friday. So yeah, overall, play boxes, it looks like the market is adjusting to them and kind of facing the reality that, well, these are the prices going forward. Start grabbing a couple of these. We'll do a little first round there on some of the more recent ones. Then we'll go back to some of the older ones. Aetherdrift 264. Now this came up to what, 285? Yeah, 284 here on the market price. And so the cheapest box now is $20 below that. Again, this is what you expect as stores either get confirmation of their allocations or they actually start getting their physical boxes in their hands, and then they feel more confident to put them up on marketplaces and start selling them. And compared to the wholesale price of this, $264 is still a very nice price where a store can make some money moving these boxes if they're in that kind of desperate capitalization situation. And I bet the depth at $264 is going to be pretty deep. Yeah, lots of sellers out here at that price, some of them with many, many boxes. Yeah. Innistrad Remastered 318. What did this peak at? 342. So it's come down about $20. What's that, about 5%, 6%-ish that it came down after release. That's okay. I'm going to take a more in-depth look at the Edgar Markov card probably tomorrow, see what exactly that's been doing. Bloomborough 354 feels good for a standard expansion collector box. What, 195, 198 or so wholesale price, and stores that were able to hold on to them can sell them into the market at 354. They could pay the fees and shipping, make $300 and be over $100 profit on this. See, this is the good kind of engineering that we need from WotC to keep stores stable and happy, to make people want these products. When they're $350 6 months after release, it's because the market wants it and because the print run was sized properly. Ravnica Remastered, just over a year old now, 384. My recollection, yep, that it's been kind of stuck at this price for a little while. WotC did some dumping on this on Amazon. I want to say the prices were high 200s, low 300s. It dumped for quite a while, but I don't remember seeing good prices on this on Amazon more recently. I love whenever I put a dump on the community tab and someone will be like, that's not a dump. It's only $100 below the market price. And it's like, dude, they're undercutting the entire market by $100. If you don't think that's a dump, man, I'd like to know what your definition of a dump is. Let's go pick up some of these older boxes. Oh, always Kaldheim. I love looking at Kaldheim, just seeing what it's doing. So many of these collector boxes are so interesting, how their prices have been going. Okay, I'll stop clicking there. We'll go to page 2. Let's pick up some of these. All right, Unfinity. Are we breaking 200? Yeah, we have. Nice. About 210. It's going to just keep marching up. Look at that. So bottomed out here about 190. Looks like it came off a cliff after Black Friday. Hit 190, and now it's up to about 210 on the cheapest box. So, yeah, 10% appreciation in the last couple of months. You know, it's going to keep going. People can have a bad attitude about a box, but eventually all that matters is supply and demand. 202. And, okay, so this is retraced just, yeah, only a couple bucks. That barely counts. That's just turbulence. What's this look like a year ago? 163, now 202. So it's come up 25% in a year. That's why I always caution people about being negative on these kind of products. You know, you can be negative, and I guess you can stay negative for a long time, but the reality is the TCG expansion lifecycle eventually just takes precedence. And it says that, well, these are scarce collectibles and the populations only go down, especially these kind of collector box items. There's no reprints of these. The populations only go down, and even a bad box like Dominaria United is eventually going to go up in the market. Hopefully Midnight Hunter Crimson Valor next. Well, I got Kaldheim. That's another good example of it. Going back a year, yep, 138. And today it's what, 197. So yeah, 50% appreciation in a year. And yet people will still be negative about collector boxes. They'll be negative about TCG investing. They'll say there's no more opportunity. Magic's dead. All the nonsense that you hear year after year after year. And yet here we are. Here are the prices. The prices are the objective reality. And my beloved Dominaria Remastered collector boxes, 182 a year ago, 230 today. I sold these to patrons just recently. I want to say the market price at the time was $225, and I was taking between $18 and $25 off of that. So most of the box prices were somewhere around like $205 to $210, something like that. Zendikar Rising, $235. And this one, I have a feeling this has been stuck for a long time. So 216 a year ago. Yeah, it's just been bouncing in this range. So you see it was 233 in that 230 range all the way back in August. So now 6 months later, it's still in that range, and it dipped down about $10 in the meantime. You know, this one surprises me and doesn't surprise me. Of course, we already saw that the set boxes and the draft boxes were just way too numerous. I guess we should have expected the collector boxes to be way too numerous too. It does come with the 2 Expedition box toppers, And the booster packs can contain the foil versions of the expedition lands, which some of those are still virtually lottery tickets, 50, 80, 100, $150 cards, if you get some of the really, really good ones that people desire in the foil. So, you can potentially pull some lottery tickets out of here, but besides that, it's what Underworld Breach and the Death Touch Spear and one or two other cards that are good. Crimson Vow 156. Last year ago it was 122, so only up about 25% in a year. Yes, only 25%. I think this one will do very well over the next year or two. So many people just skip this, or even if they were into this hobby in this era, they've gotten out since then. They've decided, hey, I only want to endure the worst part and not the best part when we're in a bull market and prices are going up and you can sell some of your inventory and realize a bunch of profits. I mean, sadly, I had one person message me a few months ago and say that they had just sold out of all of their Magic over the course of 2023 because they just didn't have any faith in the market. And it was like, man, that's sad because, that was, well, yeah, that was kind of the bottom of the market, was Black Friday of 23. And then we had a consolidation period in 24, and now we've started moving up. Foundations, $395. Man, remember, there was a time over the summer when we were expecting that this would do terrible. And we all had the collective opinion that a 5-year standard product, there's no way it could do well, and that this was just going to be bad. And then it shocked us all. The set turned out to be good. The collector boxes turned out to be well engineered. And the print runs were tight and controlled. And WotC surprised us. 67 boxes in the market. Where are we moving per day? 5 a day. Guys, 5 boxes a day selling still, and there's only 67 in the market. My goodness. Oh, man. It's going to be great. Modern Horizons 3, $425 once you add that shipping cost. 77 in the market, moving 2 a day, so, it's got a little bit of depth to it. And pretty quickly, here's 450. Not too many days away. So maybe in a month or two, we'll hit that 450. Still, it's come up very nicely. I remember I got about a case of this on pre-release. I want to say I paid something about $360 a box. And at the time, I thought, that's an okay price. But thankfully, it's appreciated pretty well since then and made me feel better about what I paid. Let's go to New Cabana. Doctor Who, definitely. Duskmorn, been a little bit of a laggard compared to other recent standard products. DM22, Wilds, so many good products. Oh man, I just keep clicking. I love so many of these. Corset 21, no love for that. Phyrexia, we'll take another look in there. Of course, AFR. Lost Caverns, because there's a lesson to be had. Commander Legends, and we got to go to page 4 to pick up Lord of the Rings. We can check what those monsters are doing. Any other single boxes here that we're interested in? Okay. New Cabana. Yes, Gilded Foil cards just never did it for the market. 166. He's bottomed out here, 120. Not bad. So it's up 16%. Since December. Like I said, guys, even a terrible product like this that people hated. I mean, people legitimately disliked the set and the boxes were poorly engineered, and yet it's up 16% in the last 2.5 months. You can't fight this stuff. This is exactly how this market was meant to be. So $275 for Doctor Who. This is finally, oh yeah. I had kind of lamented for a while that it didn't feel like it was moving up the way it should have. I was opening boxes of this last year and selling singles out of it. I think I got 3 serialized Doctors, $265 more recently, and now it's moved up. Wait, now I feel a little bit crazy. $285 for the cheapest box. So okay, it's moved up about $25 in the last 2 or 3 months. My recollection is that the depth just wasn't that great here. Yeah, 45 boxes on the market, and it sold 42 in the last month. Wow. So it's selling one a day, and it's got about 12 days of product until it hits 330. Okay. It'll pull a couple more boxes into the market on the way there, but probably 1, 2 months from now, we'll be at that 330. So this is one of those ones where the market depth is just not enough, and it's kind of coiled up and ready to jump a lot higher pretty quick. Duskmorn, $300. Okay, I feel better about that. This is kind of lagged. I was a little sad because when Bloomberg came out, I got, I don't know, 1 or 2 cases, something like that. And then when Duskmorn came out, I just bet more heavily on it. I got 4 or 5 cases maybe. And then I was sad because Bloomberg did a lot better. We saw it was like $350. But this coming up to 300 now, that makes me feel a bit better. And we can see it's had a pretty good ascension here in the last 2 months from 230 up to 300. Wow. Yeah, so up nearly 30% in the last 2 months. And people will tell you that markets can't work this way. It's never meant to be like this. It can't go on. And yet here we are. The objective data say otherwise. What do you have for market depth? 76, and it sold through 79 in the last month. So, I mean, strap in. It's going to keep doing well. Double Masters 2022, one of those poor bastards of the bear market of 2022. $256? Wow. Has this come down? Yeah. Okay. So it even got up to a market of 280 and then... Oh, okay. So it looks like there's a new or an unused account, 289 sales, but 0%. That means he let his account go dormant and he wasn't selling on here for a while. So his last 30 days feedback is 0% because he wasn't actually making any sales, or maybe he just turned his store off for a while. So yeah, he's kind of undercutting the market a little, but even then the market's come down quite a bit recently. Man. Okay. Sad because this was really getting some traction finally after being so far down for so long. I guess we're going to have to just still push off further, it finally surpassing its release day price. It was 280 to 290 during release week in the summer of 2022. And here we are 2.5 years later, and it's barely graced $280 again. So it's going to be a little while still. Very sad because I have quite a few boxes of this, and man, it's a good product. There's a lot of good cards in it, but just way too many boxes printed. It's going to take longer for the market to burn them down and for them to move on up to $300, $400, $500. Wilds of Eldraine, this is another one Watsy was dumping on Amazon for a long time. I think they still have boxes for sale on Amazon, but they're in the 360s, and so it's just, yeah, it's an okay deal. And if you have your Amazon Prime card, then it helps. $200 market price a year ago, and today it is $375. What's that, 45%? No, 85, 90% increase in 1 year. Markets were never meant to be this way. It doesn't work like this. Yeah, you can ignore those people. 90% increase, market depth, 33 boxes. 30 sold in the last months. Ladies and gentlemen, hold on to your butts. This product is going to get so crazy. Look at how cheap they're pricing these. Okay, there's only 33 listed. And look at this. $384, and today's lowest price is $376. Oh my God. $385, and then we have one box at $400, a small amount at $418, and a box at over $500. That is nuts. I mean, that's crazy that, like, if you were to plot the market depth, like the depth as a function of price, like the whole market just falls off a cliff after $385. And there's 8 boxes left. Oh my God. So you could come in here today. You'd only be paying $10 more than the current lowest price. And if you could buy 28 boxes, you could just spike this market right up. That's unbelievable how thin the market is, and yet how concentrated all of the prices are at only $10 from the current low price. Maybe people love the confetti foils after all. March of the Machine collectors, 200 and what's that, 53 when you add the tax on? 253 and 34 in the market. Oh boy, 35 sold in the last month. Guys, this is one I keep warning people. This one is just going to fly up. Look at that. That's $300. 10 boxes from now, it's a $300 box. 10 boxes, and it's selling a box a day. Yes, some more boxes will come into the market. Maybe we'll have to wait a month, 6 weeks, 2 months, but it's headed pretty soon up to that $300 point. It's wild. I absolutely love being in these markets. It's so much fun. You know, stock markets are just kind of boring. It's kind of like, oh, did it go up today, down today? Yawn, was there a dividend? Oh, what do I want to buy? In these markets, you can just see the insanity going on all over the place and just watch the products. It's so much fun. Strixhaven. Now, this is what you want. The Japanese Mystical Archives, the foil Japanese Mystical Archives. $300 box. It absolutely deserves to be this price. I think it is too cheap. The exclusivity of the artwork on those foil Mystical Archives, it's just those artworks are not going to be reprinted again. And so this is the only place for some of that really exclusive artwork on very popular cards. What I'm trying to say is $300. It's too cheap. What do we have? 41 available, 19 sold in the last month. And a year ago, these were 210. So, you know, they're up a mere 45, 48% in the last year. 324. Yeah, man. Maybe I'll put some of these up as box opening offers for my patrons. We can open some on the channel. Phyrexia. Now, this had a big run up about 6 months ago. Yeah, you see that near vertical line where it ran from 247 to 348. It ran up $100 in, let's see, end of September to November. So basically a month. 5 weeks it ran up $100 and then it pulled back. See, that's exactly what you expect, because there would have been a lot of people who have this in their closet who, you know, maybe they thought that's the right time horizon. It just ran up $100. I'll go ahead and pull out some boxes and sell them. And so that kind of that kind of pullback is exactly what you expect. And I'll get back to that on the Pokemon products in a little bit, because we are seeing that on a few of them there. And then we have a lot of boxes here at that 350 mark. So it's going to be a while before we see some new movement in this box. In the last month, it sold 2 per day, and there are only 59 in the market. So, man, what a great time to have been heavily buying collector boxes for the last couple of years. AFR 285. Sorry. 185, man, 285, I wish. 185, and in the last year, what did this do? It came up from 110 to 185, so that's about a 66% increase. 146 in the market, and it's only selling 50 a month. So yeah, again, late 2021 product, way overprinted, and the engineering of this box was just really poor. So yeah, still going to be a while. This is the kind of time frame where you should be looking at this and saying, okay, maybe I'll buy 1 box a month or 1 box every 2 weeks, or, you know, whatever you could allocate to it, but slowly build up more of a position of this, because again, there will come a time when suddenly this starts snapping upwards. Lost Caverns of Ixalan. Yeah, this one is the warning to WotC of what happens when you dump way too long, way too hard on Amazon. Of course, they have been dumping this on Amazon for 6 months now. And look at this. At one time, it was $345 market price. And today, the lowest ask is $306. And today, over on Amazon, I think they still have this at $306 headline. And then you can take 6% off of that. So you're taking $18 off of 306, so you're getting it at 288. They have absolutely crushed this product with Amazon dumping of it for 6 months straight now. The other thing is, if you look at the market depth here, a lot of these dealers have bought those boxes from Amazon to arbitrage over here. That's how the price actually ends up getting crushed over here, is people buy them at the cheaper price from Watsy on Amazon at a discount with their Amazon Visa and slow shipping, and then they come put them over here, and that drives the price down. So it is going to be a long time before we see that 340-ish price again. Here's 340. We got a lot of boxes to churn through and a couple of big stacks of them at that. So it's just going to be a long time selling a little over one box a day. Man, that's what happens when Amazon just relentlessly crushes with Amazon dumps. Baldur's Gate, $230. Good to see this coming up. I was buying it at, I believe, 140 and opening them for singles last year. Maybe it's been 18 months now, but man, I opened a lot of these. What's the depth look like? 311. Oh no, man, it's going to be a long time. Like I said, with the draft boxes, the draft boxes had that one printing in 2022 and just never anymore because they just printed so damn much of it. 70 boxes a month, but still, that means they have 4.5 months of product on the market now. That means we're probably looking at least a year for this to start heading upwards in any meaningful way. Golly. Okay, Lord of the Rings, 730. Very nice. We're all happy with that price. We were buying them in the 300s and 42 on the market, 30 sold in the last month. Very nice. And of course, special edition. Now this has pulled back a bit. What do we get? A spike up to a market price. Where did it peak here? 1660? Very nice. 1660, and now they've pushed it all the way back to 1370. Guys, you shouldn't push your prices down that hard. You should undercut by a penny. And what you'll see on products like this is people come in and say, I'd be happy undercutting by, golly, $80? Yeah, undercut by $80. Yeah, that's not a smart way to do it. Undercut by a penny. Then if you get undercut by a penny, you can come back and undercut by a penny again. And then it's still a lot higher than undercutting by $80. People are just so weird with the way they price things as the prices get higher. They become so irrational about the value of a dollar. But this is great. Hopefully you guys came along and bought when I was buying this in the 300s, and I was telling you guys to buy this in the 300s because, boy, it's quadrupled. What was it a year ago? A year ago, 350. Yeah. Okay, that's probably it for collector boxes. We'll take a quick trip through Flesh and Blood. Of course, the two interesting things going on now is a couple of Flesh and Blood 2.0 boxes have topped $100. Dynasty up here, $135. Rudy made a comment the other day that I thought was really funny and I've made the same comment in the past, that there will be these short-term Timmies who are like, I just don't know if Flesh and Blood's going to make it. I don't know if it's a real game that's going to hang around. And it's like, dude, it's on its 15th expansion. It's 5 years old now. Yes, they made it. They're hanging around. If anything, they're way less likely to go bust and fold now than they were 5 years ago because the entire management team has 5 more years of experience and they've been successful. So if anything, the odds of them busting and folding and going away and dying and all those other words people will use have gone down. And yet people will be like, I just don't know if I could buy Flesh and Blood. I'm just not sure if it's going to be around. It's like, guys, at some point you have to face the reality that it's been 5 years and 15 expansions. 135 feels good. Hope you guys have been buying along with me. $100 for the new box. This will probably get a reprint wave if it sustains this. I really don't think Flesh and Blood is at the point where they can try to be like Pokemon and be like, if we underprint and the prices go a little crazy, it helps us because it creates lots of hype. Where like Flesh and Blood is just not the same type of phenomena as Pokemon, where going crazy will get it the kind of attention that it wants. So I would expect a reprint of this, or maybe they already have the product and there will be subsequent release waves. It would be good if they could figure out what they want their boxes to be priced and manage to get them priced up there without trying to use minimum advertised price. You know, price controls have never worked anywhere ever on any product ever in the history of economics, but LSS is like, we'll try it. And it's like, good luck, guys. The rest of these, you know, maybe you ought to take a look at buying some of them since, you know, Flesh and Blood isn't going away. Now, let's see, a couple of the early ones. Of course, cases. That's interesting that cases are of the early, I call early, the first 6 products. The cases are all up here on the front page when you look for best match. That's really interesting. A bunch of people are targeting cases specifically. In fact, 125, it looks like they might be, because I think this price has outrun the equivalent 4-box price for unlimited. Let's go and look. We'll go to page 2 so we can get the unlimited box prices. Do Arcane Rising Unlimited and 113. Yeah. So that's only about what, 450 if you were going to buy if you were going to buy 4 individual boxes, and the sealed case has gone up to 500. That's a really good sign. You know, you expect that divergence. It's the same kind of alligator mouth divergence between EV and market price that you expect between a box and the singles within it. The same thing happens between a case and the equivalent number of individual boxes. And so to see that happening with Arcane Rising is really good. It means that more people are coming in and specifically targeting the cases. What else can we see from here? Monarch First. Poor Monarch First. I think people are overly negative at this point. Welcome to Wraith Unlimited. And where's Crew Unlimited? $54 you should be buying. Ooh, what did it peak at here? 59. You know, this had a good run. Golly, it's been 18 months now, almost 2 years. Yeah, it was 2023. This had a really good run. And then prices came down off of those. So yeah, Flesh and Blood early boxes had a good run then and pulled way back over the last 2 years. Welcome to Wraith Unlimited. This has been out of print since, is it December of 22? This went out of print. $80. 119 in the market, only moving 16 a month. Oh man, that's so bad. That's so bad. At some point though, you know, it's the TCG expansion life cycle. And Flesh and Blood's not going away. So at some point, you'll start to have more and more new players of Fab who kind of view this early era of boxes as like this ancient thing that's really cool, and they want to come in and start buying those up. 75 for Crucible of War. Yeah, let's come down a little bit from 87. I did not release a Flesh and Blood monthly sales video this month. Yeah, I put all the data together and I just never recorded the video. I still owe you guys that. Okay, Flesh and Blood, and we'll move into Pokemon Scarlet and Violet. So I'm going to switch the view here for just a second, and I'm going to talk to you because if you've made it this long into the video, you kind of deserve these thoughts. You know, when Pokemon USA crushed the market in late 2021, they did it in a very specific way. Pokemon Celebrations had come out sometime around August or September of 21. And so Pokemon USA wanted to let that kind of stew in the market and let people enjoy it because it was the 25th anniversary celebration of Pokemon. And they held back on the release of a bunch of product that had been printed. And you have to consider when this was in time. Like, this was late 21. And so it was after like the top of all this buildup from the COVID era and inflating print runs and everything. But then Pokemon USA also held back the product for several more weeks. They gave it like 4 or 5 or 6 more weeks, and then they just dumped 6 expansions of reprints onto the market at once, and it absolutely just annihilated the market. And I think something different is going to happen here. The Scarlet and Violet box prices, they've kind of overrun the point where Pokemon USA likes it to be. And I kind of mentioned that a few minutes ago, where Pokemon USA kind of likes that hype when the boxes are a little expensive, they're a little hard to get. But I don't think they like it when it gets into the point where like people are elbowing each other in the face to fight over them at Costco. And so that's kind of too far. And they only have very, very crude, coarse knobs that they can turn to try to adjust that, because the market is on the other end. And things like rip and ship channels and, outside celebrity influence and things like that are out of their control. All they can really do is say, we're going to engineer a set this way, we're going to print this much, and then we're going to release this much in the different release waves. And so they kind of have those really, really coarse knobs to adjust how much the hype is gaining. And it's gone to too high of a level. And I think that when we start seeing the reprints come, they'll just come to market as Pokemon USA has them. So I don't expect this to look like the 2021 crash, where 6 expansions of reprints were just crashed onto the market all at once. I expect it'll just kind of be a gradual decline. In fact, it'll kind of start, and then we'll notice it. And we'll be like, I guess a big Twilight Masquerade reprint came, because, it came down $30 in the last month or something like that, And it'll kind of be competing with the rest of the products still being a little bit under supplied into the market. And so I think what we'll see is a gradual stepping down of this current kind of hysteria about Pokemon as they reprint into it to make a lot of money. It won't be an instant annihilation like it was in 2021. But yeah, you can see all these prices most of them have run past where Pokemon USA likes it to be. And so I would expect some pretty heavy reprint waves of especially the most recent boxes. And you have to remember, Pokemon USA owns Millennium Print Group. They literally own the printer. Yes, it does still do work for other games too, so they don't have all of the print time. And, it's not a trivial thing to switch over what you're printing. So it's not like they can just change day to day to print a couple pallets of one thing. They want to change it over, and they want to print for weeks of the same thing and make scores of pallets of it and then send them out. So it will be a gradual process for them to print into this. But I do not expect that by the time we get to the end of this year, these prices will still look like this. I think we'll be back down into, let's say 120 to 160 for most of these more recent regular Pokemon boxes. Now, Scarlet and Violet, Sword and Shield. Yeah, Sword and Shield ended 2 years ago. Hopefully you guys came along with me and were buying like crazy at the times that I did. And we'll take a look at a couple of these. Silver Tempest first, since it went out of stock on Pokemon Center back around November. And you see that it spiked up from 165 to 229 since then. So what's that, $70? About a 45% increase since it went out of stock on Pokemon Center. I hate to say anything other than, well, this was easy to predict. And we'll come back here. Hold on. Let's go to Vivid Voltage first, because it just went out of stock on Pokemon Center a few weeks ago, and I'd have to go back and look at the exact date, probably sometime mid-January, and so it's already come up $15 since then. So 8-9% appreciation since it went out of stock a few weeks ago. Guys, what's the last Sword and Shield era box on Pokemon Center? It's Battle Styles. What's going to happen when it goes out of print? The same thing. Okay. And let's check Chilling Reign. Yes, that big 3% drop. And again, a big, steep, sudden run-up in price, followed by a very small pullback. At the end of the year, this will probably be $400, $500, $600. So, none of us who were buying it at $90 in 2021 and 2022 feels bad when it pulls back from 342 to 330. And that's the difference between the short-term Timmy who can't look past 2 hours from now, tells you to don't try to build your business because you could drive Uber instead. They'll look at this and they'll say, my God, it dropped 3%. That's awful. And they can't understand that you bought this at $90. Not a single one of us is sad that it dropped 3%. And the next time I do an update on the long-term Pokemon box price appreciation, we'll see what the compound annual growth rate is after a big 3% drop. Fusion Strike, same thing. Big, steep run-up and a little bit of a pullback. But again, by the end of the year, what do you think it's going to be? It's only February. It's only the first half of February. We got a long time till the end of the year. We'll always take a look at Evolving Skies and Battle Styles. And I wanted to point out, see, I gotta go to page 2 to pick up Sword and Shield base. Darkness Ablaze, case. Oh, come on, where's Sword and Shield base? Trust me, it's worth it. Okay, let me talk about this and I'll come back to it. Evolving Skies. Who is this person trying to push the box down to $1,200? 100 sales, $12, $1,200, $1,280, $1,290, $1,350. Oh no, guys, it's having a big pullback. This is all those boxes in the closet coming out to crush the market price down from $1,380 to the lowest ask of $1,280 today. Again, guys, if you're like me and your basis cost was $130, you're not feeling sad right now. And Battle Styles, illogically $170. You can buy this on Pokemon Center right now for $144. And when it goes out of print, 10, 20, 30% appreciation over the next 6 months is absolutely how the market was meant to work. Okay, let's try and find Sword and Shield base. Is it right here and I just can't see it? Here we go. Sword and Shield base had something interesting happen recently. Yeah, this giant run up, 330, and today the lowest ask is 447. So yeah, it's suddenly jumped up, 35%. Very nice. And then look, we got a couple boxes until we're at 500. Again, hope you guys were following Final Trade back in 21, 22, 23, when we were buying a lot of this stuff at anywhere from $85 to $120 a box. Hope you guys will come along through Scarlet and Violet and the future as we keep doing stuff like that. And the last two things I always do are these couple of big dealers over on eBay. Just to take a look, $195 for Journey Together. I do not think you should pay that. Here's some Aether Drift for a few bucks cheaper than TCG Player, about $7 cheaper. And hopefully you have your 3 1/3% eBay MasterCard. Crown Zenith, $48. I sold out of those. I had these on sale for my patrons. Oh boy, what was it, like $130 for a booster box worth? Somebody cleaned me out a month or two ago. These Lord of the Rings set boxes have jumped up a lot. Over on TCG Player, they're over $200 now, so they've made a big jump up recently. That's why I was asking if anyone knows when Lord of the Rings is actually going to be out of print. Same thing, these Charizard EX boxes. These were down at about $50 each if you were buying them by the case. A few months ago when they first came out, there were just way too many on the market. They were huge and bulky. Someone pointed out on my Friday seal deals that 151 is going to get some more reprints. I hope so. I hope they're monstrous reprints. I kind of doubt they'll be big enough to move the needle on 151 too much. It'll be a little bit, but it's just probably not going to make enough of a difference. Innistrad Playbox for 160. Ooh, Outlaws, 186. It's going to be interesting to see when Outlaws and Murders collector boxes can finally get some wind under them and come up in price. Lunchbox is up to 33. This was down in 25-ish range for a long time. Of course, it's a 1.5-year old product now. Lots of random ish products, not just booster boxes and collector boxes. Paldean Fates, ETBs, $100. Wow. Wow. Okay, I hope you guys bought with me. Man, feels good. Paldea Evolve 215. See, I expect that price to more or less stick. It has a better price of sticking because, well, that's a 2-year-old box now. And so the odds of Pokemon USA printing enough to crash the price is low. I would not be surprised if they printed, a decent amount and slowly trickled it out so that they could kind of keep the price elevated and sell into a strong market for it. But I don't expect them to print enough at this point to knock that price down to, say, 150. I would be shocked if it ever happened. Sad thing is, with the current Pokemon Mania, picking up these kind of EX boxes and V boxes and things, it's just not economical right now. The whole mania around Pokemon has pushed them up too high. 151 Japanese booster box. Kamigawa set 120. That was cheaper than over on TCG Player. The thing about these two dealers that I always show over on eBay is they typically have a lot more recent product. And they'll have a lot fewer things that are older. And if they're older, it'll be the weirder things. Like, I bet they have the 2023 version of the Halloween booster packs, 2021 challenge decks, see weird stuff like that they'll have that's really old, but then more of their stuff will tend to be newer. Commander Masters Collectors, 230. I think the next dealer I'm going to show you has them about $10 cheaper, but you should probably be buying those. A master set centered around the most popular play format of Magic is probably a good thing to buy. Here's the Paldean Fates case for $1,000. Yeah, and then some of these unloved games. And Flipside Gaming. This is the other good dealer. Over here. Aetherdrift 110. Do not buy Baldur's Gate set boxes ever at any price. Nice. Dominaria Remastered Draft for 120. Wasn't it 128 over on TCG Player? Crimson Vow 76. Buy a bunch of those and just use them to heat your house next winter. Draft boxes of Baldur's Gate 96. Kamigawa 123. Set boxes of Commander Masters. Again, it's always such a mess for me to try to remember what a good value for the set and draft boxes is. Yeah, 120 for the Commander Master collector boxes. Those are probably a good thing to buy. I'll put it that way. Zendikar Rising set boxes, 110. Yeah, these got a big reprint. The Doctor Who Commander deck sets, they got a big reprint 3 or 4 months ago, and WotC was dumping them on Amazon for like $130 for a while. Outlaws at $196. Weren't they $10 cheaper on the previous guy's page? It's always worthwhile to come check these two dealers on TCG Player if you're buying anything more recent. Because, like I said, distributors have it running a retail channel through eBay. They can undercut everybody. Modern Horizons 3, 232. I wish I could get these cheap again. I love these boxes so much. So much fun opening so many of those. Okay. And Kaldheim 144. So that looks like about it. So that was our monthly market walk. The Pokemon market is, like I said, it's almost like it's starting to take a breather. Like the hype and the insanity got high enough that the prices are kind of pushing people away when you start to see a couple of Sword and Shield era boxes pulling back 3, 4, 5, 8%. It's a good sign that the market's going to cool off a little, and hopefully that gives us a lot of good time to pile in to a lot of Scarlet and Violet era boxes. Pokemon continues to deliver 20, 30, 40% compound annual growth rates, and right now there's nothing I see in the future that makes me think that that's going to change. The pipeline of future buyers is still intact and still healthy, and so I don't see anything changing on the horizon. I'll let you know when I do, but hopefully Pokemon USA has been erring on the side of too much heavy-handed reprints. Hopefully the prices of the Scarlet and Violet boxes get crashed down to, 110s, 120s. It'd be nice. 130s, 140s, we'd be really happy. And, if not, it's still a buy because the reality is if it's going to go up 20 or 25% a year for the next decade, well, you can afford to kind of make some bad decisions on when you buy, and time will heal that. Magic's still looking great. Magic's healthier than it's ever been. It's wild that once in a while I'll still get a comment from someone saying Magic is dying. And it's like, man, for a game that's dying, people are shoving their money into Magic and into WotC's pockets faster than ever for a game that some people still insist is dying. On the very, very, very long timeline, I kind of wonder if Magic will have a problem like 20 years from now. Because when Magic is 50 years old, it'll have 50 years of weight on it, 50 years of history. And in my engineering career, I've worked on some programs for vehicles and weapon systems that were 50 years old. And man, they accumulate a lot of baggage and a lot of technical debt over that time. And hopefully the design team and Rosewater and all the people he works with and whoever he's chosen to be his eventual successor have an idea of how to control that, how to keep technical debt under control, and how to keep the game healthy for another 20 or 30 years. But for right now, Magic is just doing amazing. Collector boxes are absolutely on fire, and you better not bet against them until they start to screw it up for several releases in a row. So in a couple days, I'll have my Flesh and Blood monthly sales video. I'll get that up. I was going to do an update on Edgar Markov's serialized card. I've got plenty of other things on the Kanban board. Patrons, the next sealed sale is probably coming next week. And beyond that, plenty more to come. Let me know what you think, guys. Thanks to everyone who makes this content possible, especially my very generous supporters on Patreon. Like, comment, share, and subscribe, and join me on Final Trade.